The Life Story of John Summers Higbee, Preserving Family and Church History, Part 5. Mission to England, from October of 1849 to August of 1852. To all persons to whom this letter shall come, greeting. Know ye that the bearer, John S. Higbee, a true and faithful brother and elder in Israel, has been appointed and delegated by the authorities of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, in general conference at this day and place, to go on a mission to England, to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ, and administer in all the ordinances thereof pertaining to his mission, under the direction of Elder Orson Pratt and the quorum of the 12 Apostles. And we call upon all saints and the inhabitants of the earth to receive our beloved brother John, as a messenger of the living God, offering life and salvation to men. And inasmuch as you shall give heed to his teachings and counsel, and assist him on his journey and mission, you shall in no wise lose your reward. And we pray for the Eternal Father to bless Brother John abundantly in all things, and those who shall receive him or minister unto his wants. In the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Signed at the Great Salt Lake City, State of Deseret, North America, this 6th day of October, 1849. Brigham Young, Heber C. Kimball, Willard Richards, Presidency of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. On October 6, 1849, I was nominated by Heber C. Kimball and voted by the conference to go to England on a mission. I had a mission to England, not a week's notice to get ready in, so I shall wind up my business and go about my master's business. When I return, the Lord only knows, for I don't. Therefore, I conclude, desiring that this record might be kept as a memorial in remembrance of me, and that I may still do good on the earth while I remain on it, and when I have finished my work here on the earth, that I may be sanctified and prepared to dwell eternally in the heavens, is my prayer. Started for England on the 17th of October, 1849. Put in one horse with George B. Wallace, Levi Stewart, and Jackson Stewart. Organized as a party of 35 men. Found my quota of provisions. Fine weather, good roads. Shadrach Roundy was appointed captain of the company, and Curtis E. Bolton clerk. On October 25th, passed Fort Bridger. 4th of November, encountered a light snowstorm. 5th of November, passed 2 wagons bound for California with 17 men. Stayed that night at the Devil's Gate. November 6th, met 4 men who had been robbed the night before by the Crow Indians of a mule, part of their clothing and provisions. We imparted to them their wants and went on. November 8th, crossed the upper crossing of Platte River. We took a new road down the Platte. On November 12th, as we stopped at noon and turned our horses out to graze, we saw some Indians coming towards us as fast as they could ride, quickly followed by about 200 more. We saw that they were a war party. We gathered our horses and formed a line of battle between our horses, wagons, and them. We only repulsed them by cocking our guns and presenting them at them. They were the Cheyennes. The main body was about a mile off, about 800. They lost that night 21 horses taken by the Crows. November 14th, arrived at Laramie, laid in provisions for ourselves and animals at state prices. They received us very kindly. Good weather. Passed over the Laramie Fork, passed to trading post. On the 17th of November, met a band of Ogallala Indians near Chimney Rock. November 19th, my horse gave out. Took her out of harness and drove her a long part of the day. Put her in again. The mules about gave out. Harnessed up a yoke of cattle we found on the prairie that day. Left the cattle next morning, our horses being recruited. We lightened up our wagons by throwing away a stove and other things. November 21st. Came to Ash Hollow. Begin to come into snow from 4 to 12 inches deep. November 22nd. Company left. 1 horse gave out. Crossed the South Fork of Platte River. Left 3 horses. Snow gone. Roads good. November 24th. Cold. My guard night. Shoes wore out. Feet on the snow that fell. Traveled through snow 4 to 12 inches deep. November 27th. Met a large band of Pawnee Indians. got to Fort Kearney. I bought a pair of boots at $5.20, laid by here at the fort to recruit ourselves and animals. Pursued our journey on the 29th, traveling through snow. December 2nd, my horse, sick in the night, was not able to go on in the morning. Still cold, bad roads. December 4th, left the Platte River. December 5th, crossed Cottonwood Creek, stayed at Salt Creek, still snowing. Cold, rough roads. Teams and wagons strewed along the road, left by the government trains hauling from the states to Kearney. December 7th, commenced snowing. Traveled 35 miles, reached Old Fort Kearney on the Missouri River, the distance being 50 miles below Canesville. Our expenses on the road this far were $32. On the night of the 9th, the snow stopped. Crossed over on the 10th. Arrived at Canesville on the 11th of December, stopped to rest a while. I was received very kindly by my brother-in-law, Charles M. Johnson, husband of Tobiatha Higbee, my sister. Sold my horse for $20 to help me on my mission. I went to see a number of my friends and kindred. Started for St. Louis on the 27th of December. L. Level Teamster, I. Grant, H. M. Church, John Forsgreen, Mr. LeBaron, and me, passengers. Arrived at St. Joe, January 1st, 1850. January 2nd, near Clay County. January 3rd, passed through Richmond, where I was imprisoned 29 days some years before for my religion. Stayed at Mr. Dr. Allen's, passed through Brunswick, Fayette, Columbia, where Parley P. Pratt was in prison and escaped. January 8th, passed through Williamsburg, stopped in Danville at Mr. Holgerson's Tavern. Arrived at St. Louis on Friday the 11th, making 15 days from Canesville, all well. January 12th, visited many of the brethren. There are about 3,000 here in St. Louis. About 200 arrived today from England on the steamer Ben West. I stopped at Brother David Nelson's near the Shot Tower in St. Louis. The St. Louis Shot Tower supplied large quantities of lead shot, trade balls, and small lead bars to the frontier. January 13th, Sunday, went to a meeting in a large hall rented by the brethren here, filled to overflowing. I was called upon by the president, Brother Felt, to preach. I spoke a short time in my weakness and gave way for Brother Church, Johnson, and Forsgreen. Brother Grant followed and dismissed the meeting. Met again in the afternoon. Brother David Jackson is the same man I stopped with in Jacksonville, Illinois when I went on a mission in 1835. January 21st, still in St. Louis. Bought this day a coat for $5, cravat $1.40, a pair of gloves 40 cents, pair of pants $1.20. I went out 5 miles from St. Louis to Gravois, or coal diggings, in company with Brother Forsgreen, and held 2 meetings on Sunday the 27th among the saints in this place, of which there are about 200. Went to a concert on the 28th evening in St. Louis, got up by the brethren. Spoke for a passage on the 30th on the Buena Vista for Orleans, passage for $3 apiece. Joseph Young, Brother LeBaron, Job Smith, and Franklin D. Richards, cabin passengers. I received this day $20 of Franklin D. Richards. The brethren donated for the benefit of the English mission. Started on the 1st of February. February 2nd, passed 2 steamboats sunk. Rained and snowed. On the 3rd, passed the mouth of the Ohio. On the 5th, passed Memphis. February 6th, passed Vicksburg. Landed at Orleans on the 7th at evening. Found Brother M.C. Kinsey. We went ashore. Stopped with the brethren. The number of saints here is 130. I stayed with Brother Hindley. Brother Richards left for England on the 12th of February in the ship Thomas. February 13th. We are looking for a passage. We had a meeting on Sunday. I spoke with some of my brethren. The saints are very kind here. They donated about $175 to assist us on our journey. February 15th. About 12 o'clock at night, 2 fires broke out. One house burned at one place. At the other, about a block, great loss of property, and 1 man and a boy killed. It burned till noon the next day, the 16th. February 17th. Sunday. Met at Brother M.C. Kinsey's, held a meeting, and engaged a passage to Liverpool on the ship Maine. There's also 500 ships here in port. I gave $14 to Brother M.C. Kinsey as agent to procure our passage to Liverpool. The passage and provisions cost apiece about $33. We obtained a deck room on top about 8 to 10 feet square with berths to ourselves, namely Jacob Gates, Joseph W. Johnson, Alonzo Labaran, Joseph Young, Job Smith, Joseph Toronto, and Peter Hansen. I was chosen to preside in going over. Jacob Gates, first counselor, J.W. Johnson, second counselor. We expect to start today. February the 26th, 1850, we started about dark. Went 12 miles. Laid by for fog. Started early Wednesday morning. Got out to the bar at the mouth of the river at 5 o'clock in the evening. It was foggy. Stayed all night above the bar, the ship above 18 feet of water. 2 steamboats fastened to us about 10 o'clock in the morning of the 28th and tugged us over the bar. The pilot said there was only 14 feet of water in the deepest part, but they pulled her over through the mud. It was quite foggy. They let go and we hoisted sail, the wind being ahead. Had to lead, truly a new scene to me. The ship tossing and rolling over, the waves and wind not very high. In about an hour, Brother Johnson became seasick. Then Jacob Gates, then Brother Labaran, then Job Smith, then me. Wind high through the night. March 1st. Met a New York vessel, spoke to her. Saw 2 others at a distance. Not much wind this morning. Fine weather. I feel well this morning, but not used to the rocking of the ship. My head feels dizzy. Sometimes I have seen a number of porpoises at the mouth of the river, in the bar, going very slowly. About 3 o'clock I threw a line and hook overboard with a piece of bacon on it and caught a shark. It was not a large one. We are dressing it to eat it. I ate a piece. I did not like it much. March 2nd. Wind still ahead. Pleasant weather. On the 3rd, Sunday. Calm weather. Spoke to a ship. On the 4th, good wind, going about 7 knots an hour. On the 5th, saw many flying fish, wind ahead increasing. On the 6th, wind same course, high wind. Mainmast's arm broke this morning. I made a line on it. A windy morn, the topmast arm broke in the storm. All hands are busy to replace another arm in anxious haste. The wind's ahead, the seas are high, yet on the deck we do keep dry. The sprays do now, then fly. The ship is bounding more and more. 7th of March, my birthday. 46 years old today. About 500 miles south of Orleans, passing with a fair wind. We pass the most part of our time in reading. We attend to prayers twice a day. Harmony seems to prevail on board the ship. The captain, seamen, and officers very kind, and all hands very civil and clean. On March 8th, headwind, reached the Gulf Stream in the Atlantic. The Bahama Islands are on the right of us. On the left, the Cape of Florida, from 60 to 80 miles across, and from 80 to 100 miles in length. On the 9th, good breeze part of the day, but little wind in the evening. March 10th, fair wind. About 11 o'clock at night there arose a thunderstorm. Rained very hard. Moderate storm. On the 11th, fair wind, running about 8 knots an hour. In the evening the wind increased to almost a hurricane, shifted around to the north almost ahead, continued through the night and next day. On the 12th, shifting to the southwest. On the 13th, Same course, very high, seas tempestuous, the most of us not very well. On the 14th, the wind still high and quite cold, some rain. I feel quite unwell today. I got some wet. The seas rolled over the ship sometimes. We are now about 1,600 miles from Orleans, 200 miles from Charleston, South Carolina, and 400 from New York. On the 15th, calm, gentle breeze in the night. March 17th. At 4 o'clock this morning, the wind arose and blew a gale, increasing through the day. At night became very high. They had to pull all sails and let her drift. About 8 o'clock next morning, the 18th, the wind changed round to the west, having been ahead, continuing a good breeze through the day. Fair. Brother Johnson, Gates, LeBaron, and I, not very well on account of the sea being so rough, and the ship tossing and pitching so much, the water dashing over her decks occasionally. In the night come up snow, squalls, quite cold. March 19th, high wind, very rough and wet. On the 20th, still cold with snow and hail. On the 21st, lie abed the most of the time. The ship rolls over from one side to the other so that it's almost impossible to walk the deck. On the 22nd, more favorable, fair wind. We go at the rate of 8 to 10 knots an hour. Through the rough weather we have had, at one time the bulwarks went under the water. The ship is about 15 feet above water and about 18 feet under water. She is 150 feet long, 30 feet wide, mainmast 170 feet high, yard arm 60 feet long, the balance in proportion. Her freight is pork and cotton, 10 tons. The sea is abating this afternoon. I am exercising some on the deck today. Saw this afternoon, I should judge, 1,000 porpoises a little distance from the ship. We are now about 2,000 miles from Liverpool. On March 23rd, squall arose this evening, which caused considerable labor to take down sail. On the 24th, wind fair and favorable. On the 25th, high wind. On the 26th, fair wind. This evening arose considerably. The ship sails at 9 knots an hour. On the 27th, fair winds, rain shower, cold enough sea. In the night a storm arose, which caused them to take in their sails in a hurry. March 28, 1850. Very boisterous rain, and hailstorm through the day. The sea looks like swallowing us up, now in the valleys, and then on the mountain's height, tossing to and fro. It's no pleasure to me, but I feel willing to endure as a soldier of my blessed Redeemer, the will of him who sent me. No earthly treasure would tempt me to undertake such a journey. I feel tolerably well at present, in body and well in mind. We have passed the banks of Newfoundland and about 1,500 miles from Liverpool. Fair winds today. Cold we are, and quite disagreeable, not having fire. March 29th, more favorable. In latitude, 45 degrees. March 30th, south wind, but fair, tolerable breeze. Going from 5 to 7 knots per hour. The wind arose in the evening and blew a gale for a short time. They had to take in sail. Rained and lightninged considerably. It then became more calm. On the 31st, fair wind, 8 knots per hour. April 1st, the wind almost ahead the forenoon. In the afternoon of the day, going 8 knots per hour, past a brig, westward bound. On the 2nd, high winds blew to fair winds, having come 210 miles in the last 24 hours. Latitude 48, longitude 18. Sailed close to a Dutch schooner. Today cold and disagreeable weather. On the 3rd, stormy. Rain with thunder, high winds, sea rough, side wind. On the 4th, rough weather, wind fair, very rough sea. Sounded for bottom, found at about 80 fathoms. Latitude 50 degrees, 30 minutes. Longitude 10. Neared Cape. Clear 2 in the afternoon. April 5th, Friday. Fair weather, fair winds. In sight of land, the Isle of Arran, opposite Waterford. Also the light ship, a number of ships in sight, 150 miles from Liverpool. At 2 o'clock, passed the Tuscany Lighthouse. On the 6th, Saturday, came to the lighthouse in Wales, 4 o'clock in the morning. Wind and rain close to land. Anchored in Mersey, opposite Liverpool, about 4 o'clock. Not water enough to go in at the docks until high tide, which they say will be on Tuesday next. J. Johnson, J. Young, and A. LeBaron went ashore. April 7th, Sunday. I went ashore in Liverpool, it being the 40th day on the ship from New Orleans. I am enjoying tolerable health. I am now at Brother Orson Pratt's. I went to meeting this evening. Brother Richard spoke. My place of labor is designed to be in the Carlisle Conference. April 8th, Monday. Wrote a letter to my wife in Salt Lake Valley. Walked around the city. April 9th, Tuesday. The ship not in the dock yet. There's many strange things in this city to me. Ancient buildings and curiosities to a stranger from the New World. Went to a tea party at 7 this evening. Had a very good time. April 10th. The ship came into dock this morning. We got our things. Of this morning, we are invited over the Mersey this evening to take supper with a brother French. Had a meeting there in the evening, and then came back and arranged for starting in the morning. Received £1 of the brethren to go to Carlisle to assist me on my journey. Started from Liverpool at 8 o'clock in the morning. Got to Carlisle at 2. The distance is 100 miles. Visited St. Mary's Cathedral and Castle in Carlisle. Visited a number of the brethren. Carlisle Cathedral was built in 1102 AD. It was first a church for the city, then in 1123, the designated church for the Augustinian order of the Priory of St. Mary. It was officially made a cathedral in 1133, the only Augustinian Priory church to be so designated. Carlisle Castle is a great medieval fortress that has watched over the city of Carlisle for over 9 centuries. April 12th. Started on a car for Newcastle on Tyne at 6 in the morning. Got there at 9 in the morning, 60 miles. On the 13th, visited the brethren in Newcastle. Found Brother Speakman, my presiding elder. He wishes me to go to the conference with him. Sunday the 14th. The president requested me to preside. Met at meeting with the brethren, spoke to them. There are about 30 members. Met in the afternoon and at night, spoke each time. I have visited many buildings and ruins and streets where blood has literally run down the streets. Also a very extensive bridge made of cast iron across the Tyne at Newcastle and is called the High Level Bridge. On the 15th, bought me a hat, the price for which is $3, a shirt, 2 bosoms, a vest of my own money, cost in all about $7. April 17th, went to North Shields. Started at 11 o'clock in a train of cars of the distance 8 miles. Went on the rail and spoke in North Shields under great embarrassment, more than at any place I have ever been. The saints here are very kind. This town is at the mouth of the Tyne River where there is much shipping. I took a walk this morning down on the beach on the seashore. Truly it appears I never had such trials before, but I feel to press forward and fill my mission with diligence and dignity in honor of those who sent me and in honor to my God. April 19th. Visited the brethren. Went to see Tynemouth Castle on the sea. The castle is so old that I could not learn when it was built. It was partly fallen down. It looked very ancient. It stands on a very romantic spot on the seashore. On the 21st, had 3 meetings, spoke a short time at each. The saints are very kind here. There are about 60 here. The brethren got me a pair of boots. I put them on this morning, but they hurt my feet. I cannot wear them. April 22nd, visited the brethren. On the 23rd, went 6 miles out to hold a meeting. Stopped in Newcastle at the museum and looked at it. So many strange things. On the 24th, held a meeting at the 6 Mile Bridge. Walked back to Newcastle. Truly, I feel my weaknesses. If I did not know the Lord had sent me forth to preach, I should not attempt it. On the 25th, visited the brethren. On the 26th, same, staying at Brother Wanless's. 28th, Sunday, going to South Shields to hold a meeting. Going by train, distance 8 miles. There is a branch of the church here. Had 3 meetings. Came back at night in train. This is a seafront town on the Tyne. June 2nd, Sunday, quarterly conference held in Newcastle, the branches representing near 600. I was appointed by the conference to go where it seemed good to me, and to labor as seemed good to me. I was to teach and instruct the saints. My teachings were to be adhered to the same as the president. I was only subject to the president and was to labor in this region of the country about Newcastle. June 3rd. There's 2 that want me to baptize them this evening, Mary Kinsley and James Richardson. Baptized and confirmed them. The evil spirit seized James, and I rebuked it. On the 11th, baptized Elder Richard Robinson for his health and remission of sins. Also confirmed him, he being president of the branch at North Shields. Went to South Shields in the evening on behalf of President Speakman. Preached. August 1st. Some trials of singular nature, but the Lord hath delivered me thus far, and I still trust that he will, for I am but a weak mortal of myself, yet in the strength of Israel's God I am resolved to overcome. Returned to Newcastle on the 2nd day of August, 1850. Therefore I close my journal in this little book and will commence in another. John S. Higbee. August 6th. Received a letter from C.M. Johnson, husband of Tobiatha Higbee, my sister, which gave me both joy and sorrow. Joy to hear of my brother-in-law being started to the valley, and sorrow because I heard of the death of my nephew. Joseph, son of Isaac Higbee, was killed February 9th in the Battle of Provo River. August 10th. Received an appointment from Brother Pratt and Richards to preside in Elder Speakman's place over the Newcastle Conference. After Elder Speakman resigns the presidency of the now Tyne Conference, our well-beloved brother, Elder John S. Higbee, will preside over you, and we exhort you to listen to his teachings as you have hitherto done, and uphold him constantly by your faith, prayers, and means. Your servants, for Christ's sake. Orson Pratt, F.D. Richards, Presidents of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Great Britain and Ireland. August 29th. Came to Newcastle. Saw the Queen and Prince Albert, a great parade of people, firing of artillery, flags waving, soldiers marching, and music playing. September 1st. Sunday. Went to North and South Shields. 3 meetings. They do uphold me by their faith and prayers as president over the conference. On the 8th. Sunday. Held a council meeting at 10 o'clock to regulate the officers. They came together, confessed their faults, and promised to do better. They were forgiven and restored to fellowship again. Got them organized properly. Had a sacrament meeting at 2 o'clock. Taught the saints their duty. Had a meeting at 6 in the evening. Brother Robinson and I spoke, and also President Smart. There were 2 women, said they wished to be baptized. Went to the house of mourning and remained part of the night. I also ordained Robert Thompson a priest, administered to the sick. September 9th. Went about a mile on the seashore to visit the sick. Whilst I am waiting on the banks of the sea, I can behold over 60 sailboats, all on their way to the north. I think they are chiefly fishing boats. October 4th. Met in conference with my brethren in the Carpenter's Hall in Manchester. Had much good instructions from the 12 that were present. Brother Speakman made a humble confession. The Newcastle Conference on Carlisle was divided. A. M. Hammond took the presidency over the Carlisle part. I presided over the Newcastle portion. October 6th. Much business done of regulating conferences and branches. On the 7th. Met together to talk together and rejoice together. October 9th. Went to Newcastle, the distance 181 miles, The cost, 15 shillings. Meeting at night. The distance I have traveled since the 10th of September is 470 miles. The cost of the same, £2, 15 shillings, 2 pence. Received from President's Fund, 9 shillings and 8 pence. On the 12th, went to Blythe, 13 miles. Stopped at President John Smart's. After I had eaten a little, I fainted, being out of health, but soon came to and found myself on the bed. On the 13th, Sunday, had 3 meetings, administered to a number of sick, blessed 5 children. On the 14th, visiting the saints. They seem to be doing well and prospering. October 21st, received a letter from my wife from the valley, which gave me much joy. November 15th, visiting the saints. Met with a number of young men and women to talk with them on the principles of the gospel. Let them have some tracts. On the 18th, lent 10 shillings to Mrs. Headley, went to a party at night, gave them a history of the valley and of Joseph Smith. On the 20th, damp weather which affects my lungs, not in very good health. There is nothing but the power of God can preserve me in this land. Not much appetite for eating. Went to St. Peter's, presided in a council meeting at night in Newcastle. December 30th, 1850. I received a letter from my wife in the valley, which gave me much joy to hear from her and the children. Also felt to sorrow in my heart for some things contained therein. January the 14th, 1851. Went to St. Peter's to administer to the sick. On the 15th, returned to Newcastle. Brother James White came for me to go in the country 6 miles after night to administer to a brother Ferguson. He had a swelling on his knee. The doctor had pronounced it incurable. He said the leg must be cut off. White and myself anointed with oil and laid on hands. He began to mend from that time. The Lord be praised. January 17th, 1851. Went to Brother Blanche's near Shotley Bridge. Rode out in the passenger coach, the distance 12 miles. On the 18th, visiting around with Brother Blanche's friends, teaching the principles of the gospel. On the 19th, Sunday, had a meeting at Brother Blanche's and administered the sacrament. There is but 3 members here. Instructed them, administered to Elder Blanche's daughter, she being a cripple in her foot. January 24th, sent a letter to my wife in the Valley of the Mountains. On the 28th, went to Newcastle, sent Elder Carmichael to Berwick, 60 miles north on a mission. On the 30th, went to Sunderland, 12 miles, had a meeting at night, administered to a number of sick who had the scarlet fever. There have been as many as 5 died out of a family here. February 9th, went to St. Peter's, returned to meeting at Newcastle. Went to Camperdown in the afternoon, 6 miles. Married Charles Wilson to Mrs. Mary F. Teasdale. Meeting at night. The inhabitants of that village fastened the door on the outside, also stoned the house. On the 10th, talked to a number of saints and believers at Brother Bell's. Some said they were ready for baptism. February 16th, Sunday, meeting and morning. I preached also at 2 and at night according to the wish of Brother Scott. He was released by the rest of the branch, and Foster Olney put in his stead to preside by the vote of the branch. I went to the burying of Brother Granger's wife, full house at night. Brother Scott wished to speak after meeting. He said he never knew he loved the saints as well as he did before, but thought he had been wronged and bid the branch goodbye, and said he withdrew himself from the church. I told him he had a bad spirit, and called a vote of the meeting to suspend him till he manifested a better spirit, of which it was done. On the 17th, received from Sunderland branch 4 shillings, 4 pence for President's Fund. Also from North Shields, 4 shillings. Went to St. Peter's to stop at Brother John Rayleigh's. Sister Rayleigh gave me 5 shillings to assist me in getting clothes. Where Billows Roar, John Summers Higbee, March 4th, 1851. I am walking on the seashore, looking at the ships sailing to and from. thinking of the time when I can have the privilege of returning to the land I so much delight in. And my prayer is, the Lord will bless me and prosper me in this land, that I may do a good work and return safe to that happy land from whence I came, with honor to myself and to my God and to those that sent me. While sitting on the sandy beach, I pray the Lord and do beseech to keep me steadfast in this land, to do my Father's great, and return to Zion's hill, my days in righteousness to fill, to embrace my wife and children dear, that I've not seen for some few years. To meet them all alive and well would give me joy I could not tell. I am called in haste by a brother dear to administer to a child that's near, to him in ties of love and care. The child was healed, the Lord be praised, and returned with spirits raised, and sit me down upon the shore, to write these lines where billows roar. March 7th, in Newcastle, my birthday. I am 47 years old. On the 16th, Sunday, went to Sunderland, preached in the morning. In the afternoon meeting, Brother Scott, that had been suspended, made a confession and was forgiven. Took his standing again as elder. There was a man rose up in the meeting. I silenced him and told him he had the spirit of the devil. Attended the administering of the sacrament and also administered to some sick. Returned to St. Peter's. April 6th, Sunday conference in Newcastle. Conference commenced at 10:30. Attended to much business pertaining to the branch. Peace and harmony prevailed. Preaching in the evening. Ordained a Brother Thompson priest. A number more had the sanction of the conference to be ordained to different offices. Adjourned until notified to come together again by letter to meet again. On the 12th, had council meeting at night. Some dissatisfaction in the branch with the president, John Smart. He resigned the presidency. Brother John Hayne was put in his place by the voice of the people. April 28th, started for London on the steamship Columbine. Left Newcastle 12:30. Got over the bar 5 minutes past 2. Fine weather, wind ahead. Passed Scarborough at 10 at night. I could not get a berth. Had to lay on the table with a tablecloth over me. Slept badly. On the 29th, fair weather, fair wind. Passed Yarmouth at 1. Passed a number of small towns. Landed at London at 2 in the morning. The distance 350 miles. The cost 13 shillings. May 31st, 1851. Met with my brethren in conference. Saw and conversed with many of my old friends and brethren from America. 4 of the 12. John Taylor, F.D. Richards, Lorenzo Snow, Erastus Snow. On the 3rd, met in general conference, had many good instructions from the 12 and others. May 4th, went to the exhibition and saw the wonder of the world. Went at night to Madame Moussan's Busan. I got into Bonaparte's carriages, 3 of them, handled his sword and many of his things. On the 5th, went to the zoological gardens, saw many beasts and birds, very entertaining. Went to see the Westminster Abbey, where there were kings and nobles buried. Westminster Abbey, in the city of Westminster, London, England, was built in 1245 AD. It is the traditional place for coronations, royal weddings, and burials of monarchs. Went to see the House of Lords and Westminster Bridge and Mulberry House. Went in the evening to the Princess Theatre. June 6th. Went to see Brother Richards and Kelsey and a number of the American brethren. Brother Richards gave me liberty to go home when I wanted to. On the 19th, received a letter from my son, John M. Higbee, from Salt Lake City, stating all well, which gave me much joy. September 29th, 1851. I received news from my wife that all my cows were dead, and that she had a hard time to get along and wanted me to come home. On the 30th, the distance I have traveled since the 6th of April to the 1st of September, 1851, is 1,420 miles. On the 23rd, went to Christleton, called the branch together, 2 miles distance from Chilton, cut off the president, Thomas Smith, for getting drunk and not attending to his duty. Appointed Elder John Hangison to take charge of the branch until I could find a man to preside. October the 1st, Brother George Wade, an elder, desired to become my son by adoption and agreed on it. On the 2nd, wrote a letter to my wife. On the 14th, wrote a letter to F.D. Richards, Liverpool, to know something about returning home and when. November 1st, the Saints went to Sea Hill to a discussion between Robert Gillies and a Mr. Thirlway, full house. On the 2nd, Sunday, had meeting. I testified to the people here of the principles of the gospel and of the character of Joseph Smith. Met with the Saints in the afternoon at Camperdown. Instructed the Saints. December the 1st, received a letter from Elder M.C. Gee, who is to succeed me in the presidency of this conference. Moved my lodgings to St. Peter's. December 7th, conference held in Newcastle on Tyne. We had a good time. Brother Carmichael, Brother Harmon, and other traveling elders transacted much business. Peace and harmony prevailed. Baptized since the last conference, 168. Total in the conference, 632. On the 8th, sent money to Liverpool for my deposit money for passage to New Orleans in company with 15 from Newcastle Conference. On the 10th, visiting the Saints, not very well. December 19th, went to Sunderland, visited many of the Saints, administered to some sick. Sister Morrison gave me a pair of drawers. Sister Patterson gave me a shirt and a pair of stockings. On the 20th, Sister Hastings gave me a bead purse for my wife. On the 21st, had 3 meetings, bid them farewell. On the 22nd, received 21 shillings from Hartlepool for my immigration. Went to Wingate, 12 miles, called a meeting, preached a farewell sermon. Ordained 2 priests. Joined Thornley Branch and Wingate together. On the 30th, visiting the Saints, preparing to go to Liverpool. January 2nd, 1852, preparing to go to America. On the 4th, Sunday, bid farewell to the Saints in Newcastle. On the 5th, left Newcastle for Liverpool on my journey home to the Great Salt Lake Valley. Presented to John S. Higbee, President of the Newcastle upon Tyne Conference of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, by said conference, on his departure to the land of Zion. Dearly beloved President, we cannot suffer you to depart from this country without presenting you with this testimonial of our confidence and esteem for you in your course of procedure since you entered on your ministry among us. Your wise and judicious counsels and teaching have been duly appreciated by us, and are indelibly engraven on the tables of our hearts. But above all, the example you have set before us in your godly walk and conversation has been highly praiseworthy, and such as will ever adorn the man of God. With feelings of joy and gratitude to God, we congratulate you upon your success in disseminating the gospel to the world. Since you took the presidency of this conference, nearly 300 souls have been brought into the glorious light and liberty of the gospel. Signed in behalf of the conference by the presidents of 14 different branches. January 5th, 1852. Stayed all night at a public house in Liverpool. Went to see Brother Richards. January 6th. Paid the balance of my passage money to New Orleans. Sent a letter to Newcastle. Got William Patterson a berth on the ship. Still at Temperance Hotel in Liverpool. A temperance hotel aimed to provide the same amenities of a standard hotel, but without the alcohol. The first temperance hotel in Britain was opened in 1833. January 7th. Got aboard the ship, Kennebec. Brother F.D. Richards appointed me to take the presidency over the Saints to St. Louis, the number 333. Anne Granger Carr was among the Saints traveling on the Kennebec. Anne Granger was born on the 7th of March, 1817, in Assenby, Yorkshire, England. She was the 10th child of a family of 13 children. Her parents were William and Jane Horner Granger. As a girl, she was a lady's maid for a wealthy family. She married John Carr sometime before 1841, and they had a daughter, Mary Ann. John later passed away. As a recent convert, Ann was traveling to Utah with her daughter, mother, and brother Christopher. January 8th, preparing to start. The wind's too high. On the 9th, Brother Smith's child died, was taken home. The ship left the docks at 2 o'clock. On the 12th, Brother Davis's child died, was thrown in the sea about 12 o'clock, headwind. On the 13th, William Patterson and Miss Susanna Headley married. On the 14th, one birth. On the 15th, Captain Moss and Mrs. Cousins married, rough weather. On the 16th, hail and storm and tempest. On the 17th, hurricane. On the 18th, high winds, lost the topmast, split apart the sails. On the 19th, many sick, cookhouse washed down by the heavy seas. On the 20th, still windy. On the 23rd, more favorable. On the 24th, getting into a warmer climate. On the 26th, light breeze. On the 27th, calm. On the 30th, the same, a child buried in the sea. On the 31st, moderate winds near the West India Islands. February the 1st, past St. Mary's Island, plain to be seen. Sunday, had preaching aboard the ship with the Captain Smith's permission. Good sailing, breeze. On the 2nd, showers, calm in the morning. February 3rd, pleasant sailing, breeze, 2,000 miles from Liverpool. On the 4th, good wind, going very well, some sick yet. On the 5th, fair wind, halfway to New Orleans. Took dinner with the captain. On the 6th, good sailing, breeze. On the 7th, fair wind, going from 8 to 10 knots per hour. Took dinner with the captain. On the 8th, the same, meeting at 2 o'clock. Elder Dunbar preached. On the 9th, moderate wind. On the 10th, the same, warm, the wind not so hard. On the 11th, light breeze, fair, going at the rate of 4 miles per hour. February 12th, took dinner with the captain, 2,000 miles from New Orleans, 4,000 from Liverpool. On the 13th, good wind, pleasant weather, thermometer stands at 80, took tea with the captain. On the 14th, an Irishman immigrant fell overboard. They lowered the boat and saved him. Good wind. There are about 85 Irish immigrants aboard, also 333 saints. On the 15th, calm, light breeze in the evening, Sunday preaching in the afternoon, sacrament meeting at night. On the 16th, calm, Brother Shiv's child died. Took dinner with the captain. He gave me a bottle of port wine for Sister Granger. February 17th, a gentle breeze, very warm. Thermometer 85, latitude 21, not far to St. Domingo. On the 18th, fair wind. On the 20th, the same. In sight of St. Domingo Mountains, very plain. One very high, one a burning mountain, going about 15 miles from shore. On the 21st, sailed in sight of the shore. In the morning, came in sight of Cuba, made 300 miles today and going 10 knots per hour, fair wind. The mountains high on Cuba's shore. On the 21st, catch dolphin fish, fair wind. On the 22nd, Sunday, light breeze. Had preaching on the deck at 2. Sister Jane Granger, Anne Granger's mother, died 10 o'clock at night. Buried at 1:30 past 2 the same night. February 23rd, calm, still in sight of Cuba and Jamaica. On the 24th, calm. On the 25th, light breeze, a child died, took dinner with the captain. On the 26th, light breeze, catched a fish called barracuda, weight 34 pounds. February 27th, good wind from the southeast going 6 miles per hour, past the Isle of Pines on Cuba. On the 28th, wind increasing, going 10 miles per hour. On the 29th, light wind, took tea with the captain. March the 1st, light wind. On the 2nd, the same, took dinner with the captain. On the 3rd, near the mouth of the Mississippi, anchored about 7 a.m. to wait for the towboat after a journey of 6,000 miles on the water. March 4th, the steamer towed her to the bar. We were stuck in the mud. On the 5th, still fast on the bar, the steamer tried again, but to no effect. On the 6th, still foggy, 12 feet of water, the ship drawing 17 feet. On the 7th, my birthday, the steamer tried us again, but to no effect. March 8th, tried again, left us. The captain said he could not go over soon and still at anchor, but oatmeal and rice to eat. Sister Tate had a child born. Passed the custom house officer and counting us. Some complaining and say they are starving on the bar. On the 10th, the same. The captain proposed to get us taken to New Orleans on a towboat if I would pay half it cost, which was $250. I refused and offered him $100. He did not take me up on my offer. On the 11th, 2 steamers tried us again, could not get off. Sister had a child in the night. On the 12th, the captain sent us up on the steamer Hercules. On the 11th of March, 1852, John S. Higbee and Anne Granger were married near New Orleans. Both were born on March 7th, John in 1804 and Anne in 1817. John was 48 and Anne was 35 years old. March 13th, arrived at New Orleans. We were put on a wharf boat, met a Mr. Cook or Catch that assisted me in getting a steamboat to go to St. Louis. Bought provisions for the company of 62 persons under my charge. Got passage on the Pride of the West to St. Louis. She came down and took us aboard. Left on the 14th, Sunday, at 3 o'clock. A few stayed at New Orleans. Brother Corbridge's girl, 11 years old, fell overboard and was drowned. March 15th, Joyce Walton died, over 70 years of age. On the 16th, she was buried on the bank of the Mississippi, about 30 miles below Red River, Lucien, at a wood yard. Lay by part of the night for storm and driftwood. On the 17th, still rainy, Sister Hodge had a son. On the 18th, Sister Snowden's boy fell overboard and was drowned, age 16 years. Brother James's child died in the night. On the 19th, going slowly, buried it at a woodyard about 20 miles above Lake Providence, Louisiana, Wilson's Woodyard. Brother Murdoch's child died in the night. On the 20th, buried at a woodyard about 12 miles above Columbia, Arkansas. March 21st, Sunday, halfway. Bought 3 barrels of crackers at $3. On the 23rd, a number have the dysentery. On the 24th, passed the mouth of Ohio River. On the 25th, going slowly. On the 26th, passed the quarantine. Sister Harwood died. Arrived at St. Louis, 13 days passage. On the 27th, got off the steamer, attended a council meeting at President Wrigley's, spoke in meeting, gave up my charge of immigrants of the saints to Brother Smoot. On the 28th, Sunday, sick. On the 29th, little better. On the 30th, about 100 brethren went up to Canesville on the steamer Saluda. Brother Kelsey went. April 1st, Bought a little wagon and chair at the cost of $30. On the 2nd, preparing my wagon. On the 3rd, shopping with John Garden from North Shields, England. On the 4th, buying such things as are needful for the journey, visiting my friends in St. Louis. Intelligence came the steamer Saluda had blown up at Lexington Landing, and most all killed aboard, and the boat sank. There were about 70 saints on her at the time. Received 34 pounds of Sister Yates to buy cattle. She and a number started to go to Canesville on the Ben West. She was loaded very deep. She had about 600 passengers, chiefly gold hunters. On the 12th, preparing to go up the Missouri. On the 13th, got passage on the Delaware steamer. On the 14th, lay at the wharf. On the 15th, started in company with Brother Pack and Spires and about 30 more saints and about 400 gold seekers, with about 40 wagons and about the same number of horses and mules. On the 16th, turned into the Missouri River. On the 17th, a horse got his leg broken and they threw him overboard. A man fell off the boat and was drowned. April 18th, landed at St. Joe. Bought 2 yoke of cattle at $95. Started on the Sunday. On the 23rd, traveled to Holt County. Bought a yoke of oxen for $65. Bought another yoke on the 4th of May at $42.50. On the 5th, stopped 20 miles from Canesville. Bought a hat, price $1. On the 6th, rained. Bought 1.5 bushels meal. On the 7th, arrived at Canesville. Camped in Canesville. On the 8th, visiting my friends. On the 9th, Sunday, went to meeting. Spoke some to many of my old friends. On the 10th, fixing and repairing my wagon. Latter-day Saints built Winter Quarters, Nebraska in 1846 as a temporary settlement west of the Missouri River. They left in 1848, and all those who were not ready to go farther west along the Mormon Pioneer Trail moved across the river into Iowa. Many moved to a place called Miller's Hollow, which expanded and became the town of Canesville. It was renamed Council Bluffs in 1853. May 11th, left Canesville, camped by Winter Quarters. On the 19th, still at the same place, waiting for the company. Got an axle tree on my wagon, cost $9. On the 27th, still at the same place, organized by Brother Benson. I was put in captain over 50. On the 28th, moved to the river. Crossed on the 29th, camped 1/2 mile from the river. On the 30th, Sunday, waiting for the company to cross. Meeting, started, broke 1 wagon, traveled 8 miles. June the 1st, traveled to Peepay Creek. On the 2nd, to the Horn. On the 3rd, to the Platte River to the Liberty Pole. On the 4th, 12 miles to an island. On the 5th, traveled 21 miles. June 6th, Sunday, the Indians stole 2 horses. This morning had meeting, instructed the saints, elected John Pack colonel, organized a 10, Brother Allen captain. On the 7th, traveled to Loop Fork, ferry 10 miles. On the 8th, crossed the fork at Hollies, ferry at $1 per wagon, traveled 8 miles. On the 9th, went 16 miles. On the 10th, traveled 18 miles near the upper crossing of Loop Fork, getting along very well. Fine weather, camp well. June 11th, traveled to Prairie Creek. On the 12th, traveled to Weed Creek. On the 13th, Sunday, had meeting, divided the company. Brother Townsend took charge of 3 tens. I took charge of the other 2. On the 14th, traveled 20 miles. On the 15th, 22 miles. On the 16th, 22 miles. On the 17th, 16 miles to a lake. A Scotch boy fell out of a wagon. The wheel ran over his leg and broke it. we administered to him. Met some brethren from Salt Lake on a mission to England. On the 19th, went 23 miles near to Carrion Creek, past 29 graves. On the 20th, Sunday, laid by, had meeting, administered to some sick. On the 21st, went 20 miles, past 17 graves. On the 23rd, traveled 20 miles opposite the Cedar Bluffs near Rattlesnake Creek, 354 miles from winter quarters. June 24th, traveled 20 miles. On the 26th, traveled till noon, 10 miles, about 6 miles below Crab Creek. On the 27th, Sunday, laid by, had meeting, all well, took in 1 wagon, Germans. July the 4th, Sunday, held meeting, raised a flag, fired a salute, formed procession, marched around with music, sung the mountain standard, had prayers, met at 2 p.m. Brother Pack preached, met in the evening, divided the company. Captain Bay took charge of his company, Captain M.C. Neal the other. I went with the latter. July 5th, traveled on 20 miles. On the 6th, passed Laramie, 11 o'clock. On the 7th, traveled till 3 o'clock, 14 miles in the Black Hills. On the 8th, traveled 18 miles. On the 9th, traveled till noon, 7 miles. Laid by to set wagon on Tyne in the Platte River, about 60 miles above Laramie. August the 1st, Sunday, had meeting. On the 2nd, traveled 20 miles to Black's Fork. On the 3rd, 22 miles. On the 4th, traveled 14 miles to Bridger. On the 5th, traveled 22 miles. On the 6th, traveled 11 miles to Bear River. On the 7th, 16 miles. On the 8th, Broken Axle Tree, traveled 20 miles. On the 9th, traveled 4 miles, laid by on Weber River. On the 10th, Famous Place. On the 11th, traveled 15 miles. On the 12th, 14 miles. August 13th, traveled 12 miles, arrived in the valley and city of the Great Salt Lake, and embraced my family. Found them all alive and well, for which I thank my Heavenly Father. On the 14th, at home. On the 15th, Sunday, went to church, heard the President Brigham Young preach. After his mission, John lived in Mill Creek with his 2 wives, Judith and Ann, and his children from Sarah Ann. He worked hard at farming and fishing. He was a church leader and was elected captain over 10 men to serve in the military during the Utah War. He moved to Ogden in 1859. He and Ann had 6 children. 4 were born in Mill Creek, and the last 2 were born in Ogden. In 1865, John relocated to Tokerville, Utah, where he later died on October 27, 1877. Therefore, I conclude, desiring that this record might be kept as a memorial in remembrance of me, and that I may still do good on the earth while I remain on it. And when I have finished my work here on the earth, that I may be sanctified and prepared to dwell eternally in the heavens, is my prayer. The Life Story of John Summers Higbee, Preserving Family and Church History. The End. You can learn more about John in the life story of John Summers Higbee, A Mighty and Powerful Instrument in the Hands of the Lord, by Vachel C. Higbee. Available on Amazon. To see Vachel's other Higbee family history books, see her website, lanternhousebooks.com. Links to both websites are available in the description.